Hello, welcome into European Masters. We're here for day 2 of the quarterfinals. I'm Magical, and I'm joined in by the lovely Weird Champ himself. It's Ender. How's it going, my dude? How have the quarterfinals been looking so far for you?
Honestly, the quarterfinals were super fast yesterday. Caught me completely by surprise, so I'm kind of hoping we get to see a little bit more, close games today. Some best of threes that go 3 games, because 2 games just isn't enough for me.
But speaking of yesterday, that's when the quarterfinals had begun, and like you said, they were very fast. Go Rogue and LDLC were the 2 to come out top. Polska Grum came out very strong in that showing. I learned how to say that, by the way. They taught me on Twitter. But they were so good taking down Mousesports, who were our favorites going into the day.
Honestly, Rogue just came out and smashed, and Mouse, especially in the second game, just kept forcing over and over and over, but Mystique's Tom Kench made their lives completely miserable. None of these plays ever ended up working for them, and while Mystique's was sort of the savior in this game, I think we have to say that Chekolad played a phenomenal game on his Syndra in game 1, absolutely popping off, carrying with 10 kills to finish out the game.
That's what I was about to say. We were looking at it going into the day. Shigendo was the one we had targeted as being this new player, this rookie, who's been doing a great job at the top lane, getting leads. But then Chekolad was beautiful on that Syndra. Got to run it back in game 2. They picked up that win. But then we have to move forward to the next quarterfinals. LDLC dismantling BTXL, who were on a hot streak. They were 4-0 after their miracle run.
Yeah, and unfortunately for them, Tinks came out of the gate swinging here on the Trundle, and LDLC made pretty quick work of them. Overall, 2-0 series on the day. It just didn't feel like BTXL were able to find the same momentum that they had on that final day of the group stage to carry them the full distance.
And Tinks is someone we really got to talk about, and they were talking about it all throughout the cast and how he has really been performing in this European Masters. He struggled a bit in the LFL, but he has been on point in European Masters.
Yeah, and that's, I have a special eye for all the junglers here in EU Masters. I love watching them, seeing all our up-and-coming junglers, especially because in the LEC this year, I felt we got a lot of new rookie talent in the jungle position, especially. So to see the next phase of them here in EU Masters has been a treat so far.
And looking forward to the semifinals. Go Rogue going to be taking on LDLC, find out who's going to be able to go to the finals. But today, we still have 2 more quarterfinals to deal with. Movistar Riders up against HMA Fnatic rising first, but I want to talk about the game that's coming up after that. Gamers Origin against Kick Neosurf. Kick Neosurf being the only team from the play-ins to make it out of the group stage.
Yeah, and sort of a surprise to see them get here. I remember casting EU Masters, last spring, and we had so many of those play-ins team make it towards the finals, even winning it in the end. So to be the last one here is definitely going to be a journey for them, especially up against Gamers Origin, because both of these teams are squads that like to go into the team fights, like to take it into the mid and late game, but it just feels like Gamers Origin have been on top of their game so far this tournament.
That's what I was going to mention. It's going to be a real test for Kick, because Gamers Origin have been able to play around that mid to late game so well. They are all about the macro, but that is something that Kick have been doing very well themselves. They have found a lot of success, especially around Pookie style and that AD carry role, and Schlatten being able to scale up very excellently. I love this where he's playing Kindred into Singularity, but it shows that style that they like to go for, which is scaling.
Yeah, it gives me, another look at those junglers again, because we've seen so many of these scaling jungle picks as well. That just plays into this idea that so far in this tournament, it has not been about who can just pub stomp the early game and run away with the match. It's been much more about the team fights, about the scaling. That's where we're going to see Graves in our first series today, either banned or picked away, certainly. But also the Kindred, like you mentioned, have been 2 picks that are starting to pop up a little bit more.
See, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned today, because we do need to move into our first series of the day. Movistar Riders up against HMA Fnatic rising. Both junglers tend to play more of that scaling style, but especially on the side of Movistar. Eloya has really been going back to the Karthuses, the Graves, like you mentioned before, stuff that can get them into that late game.
Yeah, this guy's a true carry out of the jungle. But again, not about destroying you early on,
well,
although his pathing has... Yeah, I mean, except for this game. This is the 17-minute game, right? Where they just completely dumpstered Singularity. But yeah, no, I think I've been very impressed with his play so far. And he's drawn so many Graves bans. If it's left open, these guys are going to go ahead and first pick it for him because he is such a menace on the pick.
By the way, I do want to remind everyone that we are actually going to be opening up a poll. So let us know who you're rooting for between Movistar Riders and right now Fnatic Rising, who we got to start talking about as well, because they had a difficult group. They were with Mouse, and honestly, I think they had the potential to get #1 seed had they not dropped that really long game to Energy Pot Wizards.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge surprise there, upset, win, whatever you want to end up calling it here, for Fnatic Rising, who now find themselves in potentially a difficult matchup here up against the Riders. So I think throughout the group, they did look quite solid, and that's why I think this one may be one of our closer series of the quarters.
So yeah, like I said before, let us know who you think is going to win between the two teams, Movistar Riders and HMA Fnatic Rising. We want to see what Twitch chat says as we move into champion select.
I put my vote in.
Wait, you put your vote in.
Yeah,
why are you in Twitch chat? Get out of Twitch chat. We have a job.
You told me there was a poll, man.
Bad.
It's unfair.
Bad. Get back into the cast. We have, look at this, double support bans already from both Fnatic and Movistar, going for Tarek, which has been 100% banned at Bravado, but Thresh as well taken away. Same with Vars.
All right here. So this makes a whole lot of sense to start removing these options, especially we were sort of looking at this bot lane matchup as one that could be a little bit more exciting. You know, I think Hava's looked great down in that bottom side, but Bravado, on the other hand, also, even when his Tarek is banned away, like, he doesn't care. He'll play everything else. And I was almost wondering, like, is this a series where we see the Tarek left open? Do Movistar Riders want to take it themselves? Because rhuckz has played a couple games on it himself.
Well, the fact that they chose red side, it does seem that they're like, no, we know you're going to first pick Tarek. We don't even want to give you the option. We'll take that away and see how the next game's going to go. I assume if they're going to be on blue side, that's when they want to first pick that.
Sure.
They deny the pick from Bravado.
So here's the thing, the Graves has been left open, and that's making me think we're going to see Eloya over on the pick here, especially with a Trundle locked in as that blind jungle option. Now for Dan, like, this just reads to me like very easy Graves pick on here. You can scale on up, you're not going to run into any Trundle, into any trouble against the Trundle.
I was about to say, you're definitely going to run into Trundle when he's on the other team. It's going to happen eventually.
Yeah. You can get out of there real easy, though. His Z is going to dash to the pillar. It's going to be no problem. Look, guys, this is not like insane predictions. This is just not surprising at all here from Movistar Riders.
They're pretty much just going to textbook, saying this is what won for the side of Fnatic, what they've been going for themselves. Dan's played Trundle the most. He has changed it up quite a number of times, but it's a predictable pick, something that's going to be safe. You can blind pick that. You're not feeling too worried. You know that on the other side, beansu is going to be the tank that you can ult if you need to. beansu has played either...
Yeah, we've got all the tanks up in the top lane too, especially if this Maokai ends up getting locked on in here. Magical is now a static photo. That's a great picture. It's a great look on Magical right on over there. But Dan, of course, now actually locking in the Sett for Pride as opposed to the Maokai in the top lane. I see him frantically trying to jump back in there. What's up?
Have I survived? I've survived. Sorry about that. We had a bit of a technical...
Why are you asking me if you survived?
Well, I don't know. I have to make sure, because I could have just been on the other side of something else that I don't even know. But now we're back here and talking about League of Legends, and we see a Sett and Corki for MagiFelix. Azir being banned. I'm surprised that he actually went for the Corki.
Yeah, no, the Corki as a blind option here. I mean, we do know it's a pick that MagiFelix does enjoy out of this middle lane, but this makes me way more excited. I was about to say, Xico, no way you're going to lock in a Syndra again. He is going to play his next unique champion. He has not doubled up on a single pick so far this tournament, and the Zoe is a really interesting option up against the Corki here. You can sort of play with the range of the champion, and while I am maybe a little bit worried, like, oh, there's a lot of tanks to soak up the damage, there's not a whole lot of hard engage yet for the side of Fnatic Rising. They're going to have to look down to the support position to be able to get that for themselves. So Zoe seems like a pretty powerful pick here.
But see, this is where I'm surprised Corki got locked in when it did. Senna, just getting banned. That's what I thought would have been in the place there. Try to get something that can... You know, fasting Senna in the bot lane, they've played it before with Bravado going for support Trundle. As opposed to that, they decide to go for Corki and let Xico go for Zoe. That's going to have an easier matchup into that Corki.
Because that's the thing, right? Technically, both the Trundle and Sett can both flex down into the bottom lane. So I was going to bring up the Senna as a possibility. Obviously, you can't like ban away things to make the Sett not make a whole lot of sense down bot side. Although Syndra Sett is of course a duo that was quite terrifying actually over in the LEC. But I think there's too many options left available, so Fnatic can still maintain the mystery of what is going down there in the bottom side. Now I'm expecting Movistar Riders to go ahead and pick up an ADC as their 4th here because they're targeting the pool so heavily. Misfortune is still up and plays into the idea that they already have a lot of good CC options with the Ornn to line up for her. That is probably what I'd expect to go for with the Varus and like the likes of an Ezreal band away now.
But Braum is also the one that's kind of sticking out to me, as you already mentioned that Sett can be flexed around if they need to. If they lock in Misfortune, I wonder if you then flex Sett top lane, put him onto Pride, have it not the best matchup into Ornn, but it's okay because you have Braum that can nullify both Ornn and Misfortune.
So the thing is, I think Braum is a bit of a trap pick here, because while yes, Braum works very well into the Ornn and the Misfortune in theory in terms of like soaking up their engage, like that just means Zoe gets to play a completely free game, right? There's no CC going to be thrown her way. She's going to be able to play very safely. So I actually really like this, assuming it's going to be Syndra Sett into the bottom lane. You can now look to the top lane to find the heavy engage. Maybe it is going to be the Maokai, although they are fairly heavy on magic damage at the moment if they do go that route here.
Right now, hovering the... Oh, there it is, the Maokai. They were hovering that Recon for a second, so I was like, that would be a very interesting trade. But no, they go for Renekton, trying to get a bit of that engage in the top lane where they can get a lot of pressure drawn in by Pride.
So this is the thing, right? They're lacking physical damage. And you say, but wait, they have a Trundle. Wait, they have a Sett. Well, Trundle's going to build 0 AD items, so his ult is going to be dealing magic damage, right? Sett is going to be down bot side, so it's going to be full tank on the Sett, so there's no physical damage coming through there. I understand the pick of the Renekton given this situation, but now, of course, the Braum comes in on the other side. So very good defensive peel over for Movistar Riders. They have the range advantage to be able to play around their cooldowns very nicely, and it feels like they've gotten a pretty well-rounded composition overall.
I do like it. I like what I'm seeing from both teams. You look over to Fnatic, like you said, they were able to get that 80 damage from the Renekton, but then you look over to Movistar and how they've been playing around. They've been waiting to scale the game up a little bit. You look at Misfortune, you don't necessarily think scaling because she's been someone who's dominated in the laning phase, but when you have an Ornn on your team, it automatically makes it so anybody on your team is going to be able to scale pretty well.
Yeah, as soon as you can start handing out those free item upgrades, it is going to be really, really unfun for Fnatic Rising to play against that, especially when you have a scaling jungler in the likes of a Graves who can either pick up an Obsidian Cleaver or an upgraded Infinity Edge if he's going full-on carry, depending on how that early game goes.
So, Ender, I have a result from the poll. So, Twitch chat has said Movistar Riders, 39% of them, are voting for winning that, but then Fnatic Rising got 61%. So that's actually really interesting to see that they're the ones that are leading the poll.
Okay. I'll be honest. I voted for Movistar Riders. I sort of like them coming into the series today, and I really like what they've done so far in their competition during that draft. So I don't know, guys. Looking pretty good for MRS, even though that tricode makes no sense. I'm sorry.
Well, doesn't matter if it makes sense.
Riders.
We're looking at this game and seeing who's going to be able to win. It's best of 3. So even though if you favor one draft, we look at yesterday and we were talking about Rogue and how their draft was. They ran it back in game 2. We thought that Mouse had this one draft that was going to be able to finally win. But it depends on how you show up in that match. If you can play to your win conditions, and that's really what matters. Zanzara said it best. It's how you play in the day.
Absolutely is, and that's why we are going to be jumping into this game very shortly to figure out who can move on in towards the semifinals. You know, just rounding out these compositions one more time, it feels like there's a little bit more pressure on Fnatic Rising to make things happen earlier on, potentially through, you know, some of these lanes with a little bit more power. Mid lane, not necessarily going to be a big focal point, but if you can unlock the Renekton perhaps up top side to keep dominating the lane, and then play through bottom lane, I feel like that's going to be their best bet.
Okay, so I do want to let you guys know something really quick. xMatty loaded into a game with a skin that has been administratively disabled. As a result, they got to remake the game so that we can get the change before play can resume. So we are going to have a little bit of a break and a little bit of a downtime. So, Ender, no, that does not give you a reason to look at Twitch chat. I saw that. You think
Wait,
I didn't
that's
see
exactly
that?
what I'm
You
gonna be
didn't think that I didn't see that? I saw you twitch over there like, oh, look, Twitch chat, Twitch chat.
So if you guys don't know what my setup is currently, I have 3 monitors, but the monitor I'm looking at right now is usually way over here, and I had to drag it over. It's a whole story. So my Twitch chat is sort of hidden behind the monitor, so I've got to peek around it real quick to figure out what you guys are saying. And I hope Zoe wins too. Big fan.
Okay, so getting outside of the memes, we got a little bit of time. They are going to do the exact same pick ban. Nothing is going to change. It's going to be the same result. So we're just waiting. We have a little bit of downtime, and we got to talk a little bit more about what we expect from these teams going forward, as well as what this means for the entirety of the tournament. Or Ender can meme. I know he's really wanting to, but I'm trying to keep him serious. I'm doing my best, guys.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about then?
Talk about the draft.
Oh, the draft, right.
The game, you know, that we just saw. I have it right here in my
Yeah.
notes if you need me to read it for you. I know your memory.
What do you want to know about the draft? What do you want to know about the draft? I'll answer any questions you have. I'm just a knowledge bank right here.
Now, is it any questions I have, or are you talking to Twitch chat? This is hard to kind of grasp here.
Honestly, both, right? But like, I'll defer to you guys first.
You guys, so you're talking to Twitch chat.
Yeah. But like,
But
also,
I'm the one here first. Shouldn't you defer to me first?
So here's the thing, right? Is like technically I'm talking with you, but I'm talking to chat. Does that make sense? Right? Because like they're the ones that were really doing this all for. I'm not casting for you. You know what I'm saying?
I guess
I'm a man
that
of the
makes
people.
Sense. I mean, I always just thought you were an emote, but that's beyond the point. But okay, so I think that's a good point. While we have a chance, why don't we get a feeling for what Twitch chat thinks from this draft? One, we already know that there's a lot of people supporting Fnatic coming into this, but I kind of want to hear why they think that. What is their reasoning going against Movistar? Movistar are the team that were able to win 2 tiebreakers. One that was a 50-minute game against Schalke 04 Evolution, who were the tournament favorites coming into this entire European Masters, and then taking down Kick Neosurf in a 35-minute. That was, again, a pretty tough battle.
Yeah, no, that was actually a really tough day for them, really, to try and push it and make it into the quarterfinals. It felt like the groups... So, like, the first half of the round robin for all of our groups felt like it was very clear, pretty one-sided overall. And then the second day, so many, like, expectations turned upside down. Teams that were 3-0 all of a sudden not making it. Teams that were 0-3 making it on up here. But then it sort of gets reconciled in the quarterfinals so far. So I think a lot of expectations should be for Movistar riders to move on ahead. I just feel like there may be a lot of Fnatic fans in the chat.
Also, I did get word from our producer that Twitch chat's not going to be a big source of questions. So this is something that I guess that I know you really do love Twitch chat, but we got to make sure not to ask them or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to delay time, and now I'm being told by the producer not to flame him. But
yeah,
I am
wait,
totally
you
flaming him.
just now Twitch chat's gonna be mad or just sad. No, yeah, they're just sad.
Oh, they're
That's
sad?
pretty normal though.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I see Twitch chat. I believe in you. At least I believe in you.
Unbelievable. Honestly, they're gonna be looking like that Amumu back there. Everyone should be looking like the Amumu back there right now.
He looks
honestly.
comfy. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that looks like a
just so
good
far away.
spot. I'm just saying. I mean, it would be worse. It could be like where I'm at, where it's 9 in the morning. I've been up since 4. I'm in a garage right now. It's starting to get hot. It's like 90 degrees here in California.
Honestly, though, it's better than being in a cave, right? And you've been in a cave for a while. By the way, chat, if you guys are wondering why we're just talking about complete nonsense, it's because, again, we had to remake Champ Select after there was a administratively disabled skin selected. So we've got a lot of time to fill, and I would rather talk about random things than talk about the game.
Well, because
eventually we run out of stuff to say about the draft.
We have a lot of time to be able to talk about the game. We don't have a lot of time to meme, you know? It's just one of those things you don't always get that much time and allotted space to be able to do so.
Also, can we just appreciate the fact that your shirt perfectly matches whatever is behind you right now?
I may or may not have done that on purpose because I was flamed for my shark shirt yesterday. So I had to, I didn't have to. I chose to make a statement with my shirt today.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that.
It's also
If
my
I
last
could,
day
I
to
would
be
sort of
able to have
frame
a
my
cool
camera
shirt like this.
Oh, because you got to take it seriously from moving on forward.
Exactly.
I understand that.
So,
all right.
See, getting this break, we still have a little bit of time because it's also, you want to have a delay between the start of the game and between when we watch it for competitive integrity. It makes so we are just kind of bantering a little bit more back and forth and getting a good feel for what's to come, I suppose, because we know it's going to be serious once the game starts. We're gonna take it more seriously. It's quarterfinals, knockout stage, blah blah blah. But right now is an interesting time. Ask Ender some questions like, why is Weird Champ the emote that you chose?
What does that
choose? What does it mean?
No,
dude.
It's like
how did
in
Weird
Harry
Champ
Potter. No. So like actually, you could just take the scene in Harry Potter, right? Where it's like, the wand chooses the wizard, right? It's the emote chooses the person.
Okay.
It's not my fault. it's chat.
But see, I see OK Champ, and then it's Pepe Laugh is now the more recent one.
Pepe Laugh is the new one, right? Pepe Laugh, you'd have to be there, right, to understand the Pepe Laugh. You know, you'd have to really hold it in. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so I think we should.
I keep accidentally kicking my table.
I know you do.
Now it just looks like there's an earthquake in my apartment.
I was gonna say, I've been constantly saying that. All right. Now I think we're getting close to getting back into the game. So let's start taking it seriously again, Ender. Let's bring it down. Calm.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready? All right. So let's get back into what we were talking about before, because we had to have a little bit of a break. We had to remake the game. xMatty had a skin that was administratively disabled. We had to remake the game. We have a competitive delay. Looking at the draft, you were favoring the side of Movistar to begin with, but I want to ask you the win conditions that you see coming in from Fnatic.
Ooh, Fnatic. Okay, so basically looking overall at their comps. Oh, wait a second. What do we have here?
Oh,
we got some highlights. You know what?
Highlights.
Let's talk about the highlights because I like this one more time. Eloya is going to be on his Graves that he crushed Singularity with in their 17-minute win. Of course, this is a pick that they actually like to first pick a whole lot when they're over on blue side. They draw a ton of bans as well. So honestly, I'm a bit surprised to see it left open for him to rock back again in this game one here in the series. And if it doesn't go well, or if it goes too well for Movistar Riders, like that's just got to be a ban in the future.
But then we swap over here, and here's Dan on Trundle. So we get to see a highlight of the two junglers on the champions they are playing in this game. Same with MagiFelix on that Corki. He hasn't actually lost a game, if I recall, this European Masters on Corki.
I feel like the Corki has always been one of those MagiFelix picks. Like, it's the Corki and the Azir. It's like the big memes, right? But, like, those have always been the ones that people have been like, oh, he's so insane on these, like, scaling mid lane options. And then in this tournament, all of a sudden, Corki, Azir, all these other scaling picks are just super, super powerful. So while that has been, like, pushed maybe a little bit too far in the past, you can't help but feel like he is feeling right at home here for this series.
You want to know an interesting fact about MagiFelix, too, this European Masters, is...
Hit me.
At 15 minutes, he has been ahead in CS 83% of his games. So pretty much only one game in the group stage, he was not ahead in CS at 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's actually even though he's been playing the scalers, he's been farming up really well so that he can play into that mid to late game.
You love to see it. You love to see it, and especially in a game like this where you see a whole lot of scaling options on the other side. Corki being one of like the main abilities for Fnatic to have power moving later on into the matchup. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him too in these team fights that are going to be super pivotal around potential Dragon Souls, around the Barons. But thank God we're done with that fill time. We're into the game.
We did it, Ender. We made it through. I know you're happy. I'm happy. Everyone's happy. Let's get some. I don't know. What's a good emote? What's a happy emote that we can get spammed in chat?
Wide peepo happy.
Wide peep. There we go. Wide peepo happy. So we're into game. First one of the day. Third quarterfinals that we are seeing. Fnatic Rising versus Movistar Riders. Both teams are the last representatives of their region. This could be it for either UK or for Spain. They could get knocked out in the quarterfinals, which would be devastating because you look towards last time. You see last European Masters in summer. It was Spain that were the runner-ups. They lost in the finals to Big, the DACH region representatives. Then you have Fnatic, who have been to the semifinals the past 2 times. That would be a big loss for them if they didn't make it to semis.
Yeah, and of course, also with BTXL getting eliminated just the other day, Fnatic, the last hope here for a lot of the UK fans watching at home. So, what do we need to see from Fnatic? Looking at their composition, it's very clear that they have more of a focus on the early mid side of things with picks like the Renekton, the Syndra Sett down towards the bottom side of the map. So, I would really like to see Dan visit bot side earlier. You know, I mentioned maybe he'd go top lane. I say forget about that completely. With Syndra and Sett, you have so much gank setup for you between Syndra Scatter the Weak, Sett walking up, dropping the E on people as well. Like, you definitely have the ability to punish, especially against this pushing bot lane from the Riders.
Alright, we'll give credit over towards JaVaaa and rhuckz. They were able to get a decent amount of damage onto Bravado, making it a little bit more difficult. Should be able to get that level 2 prior to xMatty and Bravado getting that, but like you said, they're not going to really be too worried, as both bot lanes are going to be able to get that level up at the exact same time, making it so that neither of them are going to truly have an advantage in that fight.
Yeah, so what Fnatic's bot lane is trying to do right now is try to get a little bit of a freeze going on their bottom side. Now, this isn't like a lane freeze, but what I'm trying to say is they're trying to position the lane so it doesn't fully bounce into the wave, so it is going to be locked in a relatively neutral position. But there's a good ward in that forward
nice
brush
ward
right there from Movistar Riders to be able to spot out Dan and keep this bot lane safe.
And it'll be smart of them if they can keep him in the bot lane. Keep feigning that they're going to step a little bit too far forward. Like, oh yeah, we don't know you're right there on top of a ward. We have no idea. It's just the lane is pushing towards us. That's what's really happened.
Man, it's just a lot of wasted time there from Dan as well, who will be able to walk up into the river and secure the Scuttle Crab and give protection for this bottom lane. But Eloya completely happy to go ahead and farm this one up here. Does need to pop the smite, but should be fine with his E to get away from this one.
I almost thought Dan was going to be able to smite that away from Eloya for a second. That would have been pretty bad. But the fact that he was able to smite it, then fought back a little bit. Dan still wants to fight over the Scuttle Crab.
They want to fight.
Xico was able to get all the way around, gets the Sleepy Trouble Bubble on to MagiFelix, onto xMatty, sorry, and gets a lot of damage. They flash forward to get first blood onto JaVaaa, getting the flash out of Bravado, but he cannot escape this despite the shield. It's not going to be enough, and they give over the kill to Xico, getting MagiFelix to have to use Valkyrie to get out.
Wow, that is just such a great fight right there from the Movistar Riders. Xico really spearheading the initiative as well, getting that mid lane push, walking on that huge wide flank and landing the bubble on towards xMatty, because it's very clear Fnatic want to play through this. They have pressure down bot side, but they have no idea where Xico is. Xico uses this wall beautifully to get the extended range on the bubble. This flash away does absolutely nothing for xMatty. Xico's able to follow over and land the stun to secure the kill for his team. And then what can Fnatic do? They're getting chased down by 200 years worth of Zoe.
2 flashes, well 3 technically on the side of Fnatic were burned, but 2 of them wasted. They still died trying to escape from that engage of Movistar Riders, getting an early lead on a composition that we were talking about wants to be able to scale. The early game should be favoring that Fnatic, but it was a great flank from Xico to punish xMatty from not having Bravado be the one giving cover.
The thing is, it's not even like Movistar Riders comp is like garbage in the early game either, you know? When people say that Graves is like a scaling pick, that's because he scales well. That's not because he's not good in the early game. Sure, his gank's not going to be super effective, right? Especially when he doesn't have red buff. He doesn't have a lot of CC to make things happen, so that's why he's a more passive champion. But he does damage in the fights, right? Where he's able to land Qs on stun targets. Zoe, a menace as well in these extended fights where everyone is popping their summoner spells. So Movistar Riders saw their window right there and have now just sort of opened up the game much earlier than it should have been.
And with this, it's going to give them a bit of an advantage coming around some of these objectives. We see Infernal Dragon could be something that they want to go for. They have only a little bit of a gold lead onto JaVaaa, but it is Misfortune into Syndra, where you want the Syndra Sett lane to be able to set up gank potential for Dan to be able to come into the bot lane. It's going to be a lot more difficult when you have Misfortune, who's already getting a big lead, has a BF sword back in lane at only 6 minutes.
Yeah, BF Sword versus Amp Tome is pretty unfortunate, especially because, you know, xMatty really wants to be able to get that Lost Chapter to have permanent staying power in the bot side. I'll also say I've been very happy with the early warding from the Riders bot lane. You know, not just the initial ward to be able to spot out that Dan gank, but now they've placed control wards behind themselves to make sure that Pride can't find any of these TP flanks, especially because beansu just used his teleport. And this is a great thing to have happen because it means that beansu can very easily, you know, stay alive in this lane, but he doesn't have TP to join them around this dragon, so they're getting a little bit too anxious to get this one.
Bravado uses the Haymaker shield to stay alive, but here is Pride, able to jump on top of Xico, going to be able to blow up Zoe before she can even fight back. Infernal Dragon still what Fnatic want to be able to take and deny Eloya from being able to get a steal. You can see the damage coming in from Pride. It scares them all over the wall. They all have to flash and dive away just to be able to survive.
Honestly, I'm a bit perplexed with the decision-making right there from Movistar. I mean, now beansu's here and they're trying to turn it around.
Unfortunately, did not get the call of the Forge God to get a hit onto anybody, so they back off immediately, saying the fight and the engage is gone.
I mean, beansu had just used his teleport topside. I was literally in the process of praising Movistar Riders because they had the wards to tell me that they didn't want Pride to TP flank them. But then they start up the dragon while they know there was a TP mismatch in the top lane. On top of that, they stick around where Eloya and rhuckz can easily get over the wall, but JaVaaa has to use his flash, so it seems like everything was going super well for them, and all they had to do was not leash the Drake for Fnatic, and now they've given them a little bit more pressure back into the game.
I was going to question for a second the fact that beansu is in this bot lane, but now I'm more questioning the side of Fnatic. You see Ornn in bot lane, you know there's no dragon. Rift Herald is going to be the next thing to contest, but they still sent xMatty and Bravado down towards the bottom side of the map, knowing that Movistar are going to reset. JaVaaa, rhuckz are going to immediately go top lane.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a little weird for Fnatic because they're maybe thinking Movistar won't go for the swap themselves because Fnatic want to maintain the 2v2 lanes, right? Like, top lane and bot lane are supposed to be the winning matchups, but now you're 100% right. It is going to be mismatched. They're not going to have pressure around the top side, or rather, xMatty, because he has teleport, he sticks bot side, and now Bravado's roamed up. So this is actually a good play from Fnatic to be able to have some full map pressure when this objective is spawned.
When I saw Bravado go towards the bottom lane, that's when I was getting question mark things. I'm like, why are you there? But he started pathing immediately towards the top side so they can contest this, make it that much more difficult. Movistar Riders don't want to give this up, especially because Fnatic haven't had the best secures around Rift Herald. They haven't really played around this objective too much. They've always been around trying to wait it out, scale up into the game, but they feel they have this power, but they gotta be so careful. You can see that Xico able to completely zone away MagiFelix, trying to get into the back line with Bravado helping out to get a lot of damage onto JaVaaa. Not gonna be able to escape from the fight. They have to flash away when they have the flashes up, just to be able to escape. Xico getting a little bit of damage onto Pride, but not enough to actually scare him away. It's going to be MagiFelix getting the majority of the damage onto Eloya and keeping the jungler out.
Wow, so much damage there from Fnatic, yet they only picked up one kill. Still, that was exactly the right timing to look for the fight. beansu's ultimate is only just now coming off of cooldown.
What are you doing, xMatty?
The Scorchy gets him.
Gotta not step up like that against Zoe, man. You gotta know better. Unfortunately, he dies. I will say his death doesn't mean too much here because you look at what Fnatic are still able to get. They're still able to get the objective. They have forced away Movistar Riders completely from this, and it's really with Pride and Bravado able to get into that backline.
Yeah, watch Bravado's flash E right here on the set, picking up 3 members. Beautiful stuff coming on through from them. Unfortunately, while the double stun does land in the backline, there's a flash and a dash to be able to escape, and Fnatic with so many melee champions, it's really hard to follow up on any sort of these disengages from Movistar. And then xMatty tries to clear away the ward, has minions in front of him, but it still hits him with the giant AoE. Sure, we take those.
It's the AoE and the Summonary, and then Scorch on top of it. It feels bad for sure for xMatty, but you gotta back off.
That's a Zomegaloli if I've ever seen one.
Now that's one I haven't heard before.
Oh, you might not have heard it, but you've seen it.
I probably have seen it, but I'm talking about the Zomegaloli. That one was a good one. I was like, okay, all right, respect where it is, but right now, it is still an even game between the two of them. Neither of them really able to get that big of an edge. Dan, though, still has the eye of the Rift Herald. Could pop that in the bot lane if it's going to be the play. With the power of xMatty on the Syndra, the pick potential that they can get from Scatter the Weak into Bravado, they are trying to see if they can play around that bot lane.
Yeah, and of course with the Drake spawning in 45 seconds, they may be able to hold off on the Rift Herald and get that one to spawn a little bit closer to the time that Drake is going to be coming on back up here. But they have very good control wards in this bottom river, so it may even be that Eloya walks into the face of Dan.
They already pulled back, though. Here's the start of engage. They want to be able to get onto Hava, but xMatty is going to be the one chased down. Here's Unleashed Power getting a lot of damage, and they're going to be able to pick up the kill into AD carry for AD carry. Both junglers nearby. Here comes Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Not going to be able to connect, though. Get a lot of damage regardless onto Dan. Trying to see if they can secure him away. It's going to be the Haymaker Shield that keeps Bravado alive, but collateral damage to pick up the kill.
Wow, Eloya snipes him out in the back. You know, Eloya was trying so hard to land the last auto attack for the stun on Bravado, and Dan kept body blacking all of it. But even in the end, it is Eloya to come out, and now...
MagiFelix, there you go. Get out of there. Had to use the package just to survive. That's going to make it so that they can't contest around that Ocean Dragon.
That is confidence, to say the least, from MagiFelix, who had the cleanse available, was willing to soak up the damage and get away with the package. But now it should be a very easy Drake here, even with a lot of Fnatic members returning towards the bottom side of the map. Movistar Riders will go ahead and pick this one up, no questions asked. Watch this play one more time, because again, at the start of the play, there's no flash on Hava, so that's why Fnatic are trying to layer down all of their CCs onto him. Unfortunately, what they don't realize is the Hava just heals up and chases down xMatty, so lands the stun, helps Eloya get that burst damage to finish off the kill, and then it is this long chase. Watch how Dan body blocks all those auto attacks, so Bravado cannot get CC'd, but then Bravado walks straight in to the paddle star and gets sniped from a mile away.
And a lot of damage comes in when you can layer up with a poke as well as collateral damage, but here is Rift Herald pop in mid lane, only going to get a little bit of turret plating, so not really getting the most bang for the buck. It has allowed Dan and Bravado to try to invade onto Eloya. I wonder if they're just going to go for a simple smite steal, but they actually go for the full-on fight into Eloya with Ignite taking. It's a shutdown for Bravado right into the red buff, going to Dan.
I don't know if that flash was necessary there from Dan. More of a message there than anything else.
It's always sending a message.
Still picked up the kill with the Ignite. Now xMatty in some trouble.
He's in trouble, and he's going to fall immediately. There was no escape, unfortunately.
Yeah, so Fnatic falling apart down on the bot side while the team got the kill up top. xMatty thought he could just clear the waves, but having a really tough game so far on the Syndra. Still yet to finish off that first item, so while the Rift Herald did go down in the mid lane, that only meant 2 turret plates for Fnatic, which has been matched down here bot side by Hava, and as long as gold lead stays neutral or even slightly behind for Movistar, they're going to be perfectly content to continue scaling up.
No, wait it out. They have a lot of these skirmishes, but honestly, it's been going the way Movistar wants. They aren't losing out too much. It's not like they're getting snowballed out of control. We were afraid that xMatty and Bravado, this bot lane, was going to be where Fnatic put a lot of pressure onto, but they haven't been able to. Movistar have matched them so many times to make sure that this Syndra cannot get out of control.
Yeah, I mean, like, Fnatic tried to put the pressure bot side, but they took a really poor fight against Xico Zoe, and then since then, it's just been Movistar pretty much avoiding the bottom lane with the early swaps. You know, they swapped the first Herald, then they come back down for the Drake. Now the second Herald's going to be coming up very soon. They're right on back up here. They are perfectly content to keep on fighting, and why shouldn't they be? You know, they've got a lot of their items coming on through here. Hava just a little bit off that Essence Reaver, unfortunately for him, but still feeling very strong when you compare him up against the Syndra.
Hava and rhuckz now on the top side of the map. We look, Rift Herald is going to spawn up soon. So they're trying to see if they can fight over and this time get it. They were able to get a lot of turret plate gold beforehand, but the gold is nearly dead even between the two teams at 15 minutes into the game. No one really has a significant lead, besides the fact of that bot lane where Hava's got these 2 kills, xMatty only just getting, Luden still sitting on Darksteel, but it's still even across the board.
See, you say it's even, but I think this is like the Dream Graves scenario. Dream Graves and Zoe, right? You're playing against 3 melee champions. Graves gonna have a field day with those guys. Same thing for Zoe against the limited engage options as well. And hey, beansu gonna be able to clear away the minions, deny any sort of dive coming down bot side while his team picks up the Herald. And that should also mean first turret of the game for Movistar Riders if they want to drop that down. Would love to see them use that down towards bot, but they're pathing up top lane, and it looks like xMatty won't be able to find anything.
Pride takes a lot of damage from that turret. Wanted to get just the stun on the beansu, and unfortunately didn't work so well. Topside Movistar not popping the Rift Herald, actually just going to be able to brute force it down with 3 top lane, getting first turret gold.
Yeah, I wonder if, I think Movistar could have waited before taking down that turret to deny yet another minion wave up against xMatty. He's going to pick up a wave and a half now because Movistar are just obviously going to reset after securing that one for themselves. But honestly, they don't have too much to lose.
No.
And they could just put xMatty into the dirt, right? If they just stuck around, Eloya very likely could have recalled as well. Even with Bravado walking up there with 3 members, like you can just push them off the tower.
But opting instead maybe to play around this dragon. Gonna be Cloud Rift. We've already seen that that's the rift that is here, and it's Cloud Soul, which isn't necessarily the best thing for Movistar. They probably would have liked that mountain, really help out beansu and rhuckz in that front line. But being able to rotate around the map a little bit more when it comes to sieges later on, they have really good siege tools from both JaVaaa and Xico that they can play around.
Yeah, they've got pretty much everything they could possibly ask for, and within the team fights too, like they're always going to have the range advantage, which is surprising to say when you see a Corki and a Syndra on the other side, but
exactly.
still not the easiest game to play. It's really going to come down to how Bravado and Flash can use Bravado and Pride can use their flashes to get into the backline, because it really does have to be a pretty picture-perfect engage, which we have seen from Bravado twice so far this game in order for them to look good in these fights.
That's what's been keeping Fnatic and even toe against Movistar. They're trying to see if they can make this pick on Xico, but it's going to be MagiFelix having go away. It is a secure onto the dragon coming in from Dan, but they got to be careful of the fight TP from beansu. Looking for these 3 members of Fnatic who are cut away from the rest. Are going to be able to get the double, triple knockup, but not going to be able to follow it up.
Yeah, I'm honestly, like, that did look like a good fight. It was a winning fight for Movistar Raiders, but of course they can't finish off anything right there. I think beansu maybe could have held on to his teleport, and the Herald is still going to spawn. Good news for Eloya was that was changed a whole long time ago. That will be the 2nd turret of the game for them as well, down bot side, but maybe fine.
This fight getting a lot of damage onto Eloya, trying to see if they can burst down rhuckz first, the one who's putting up the wall between them, but he's going to be able to flash away. JaVaaa doing a pretty good job at trying to get the stun onto Dan so they can see if they can chase down the damage coming in from Eloya. Trundle, though, he can heal up through a lot of the damage that is outputted by Movistar and get out of there.
Every bot lane fight is just so tragic for Fnatic because it looks like they're winning, but then on the other side of the fight, JaVaaa is just solo killing xMatty.
Exactly.
Right? Like, xMatty had to use his flash in that one right there. It is not going well for them because their damage dealers don't do damage currently.
No, and they get the tier 2 turret in the bot lane. Like you said, it always looks like the Fnatic are able to fight back, but they're losing behind. You see how this misfortune has started to take over the game pretty well, and it's only going to get worse. Having gone for Executioner's Calling. Getting that early on to be able to deny healing from both Trundle and from Renekton. That's an interesting buy this early.
Yeah, that is a surprising option, to say the least, right there. I don't think I necessarily saw that one coming for JaVaaa, but hey, he's going to have the Ornn items coming on through, no problem, so we'll still certainly have the damage to cut through a lot of these players. And you can just sort of see a bit of the inevitable here as Xico shows off what happens in this match when you land skill shots, but now he might have just gone
He
down.
should be out of here. Sleepy Trouble Bubble doesn't connect onto Dan, unfortunately went right past him. Flash over the wall coming in from Trundle with the pillar put down to try to see if they can get rid of this problem of Zoe. She is gone, and with that, they might be able to at least get some control back on the map.
So it's interesting how Fnatic have gotten all of their advantages, because it usually comes from punishing Movistar Riders being a little bit too antsy to make things happen, especially when they're the ones that don't need to, you know, put on the gas at all. beansu just going to clear the wave with his ultimate right here, and that's all they need to be doing, is taking a very defensive approach towards this early game and maintaining their turret line, which they've been doing a great job of, right? They have 3 turrets themselves, have only given 1 up on the other side, but you can see when individual players see windows, they do sometimes get punished, and here we're seeing it again in the mid lane.
Pillar was not able to knock rhuckz. Instead, it's going to be the knockback onto Bravado. They didn't get a little bit of damage, but it's not followed up by Fnatic. Even though they expended the TP out of xMatty, they weren't able to find a pick, while beansu gonna find himself just farming up in the bot lane, putting up the camps, and alright, not even gonna worry about it. My team's got it mid.
Yeah, no problem for them here either. You can see, like, Fnatic, they have to walk back mid lane again just to clear away these waves against all these ranged options, and it's still going to be the turret going over towards Movistar Riders. This is the problem, right? When Fnatic walk into a 4v4 or 5v5 against Movistar, they lack the initiation tools to punish Movistar, and they lack the range to beat them in a poke war too. So Movistar just basically counter them in both of those aspects. So it really does have to be an all-in attempt, whether or not that's like a TP flank from Pride, or Bravado flashing forward, xMatty landing a perfect stun, or conversely, Movistar Riders overextending. That is pretty much the only way for Fnatic to come ahead in these fights if it is on even footing going forward.
You know what's funny? I was going to actually ask you, looking at the composition Fnatic have, they have decent split pushing options. They could put Corki in a side lane once he has package. They have Renekton, and they can easily clear out mid with xMatty on this Syndra. Could that be a viable strategy for them to be able to counter what Movistar have against them?
So I think that can be an option for them later on into the game. We're not quite at that point yet. Now beansu in a whole lot of trouble.
He already used Flash as well. They're going to get a lot of damage onto this tank with Ignite ticking away. And one more chomp onto Ornn and we'll take him out. And with Dragon spawning up in 35 seconds, that could mean that Fnatic are going to be able to not only get this turret in the bot lane, but then get the objective.
Yep, and especially because MagiFelix is going back to base. I believe he has enough money for the Trinity Force plus the upgraded Mirror Mana. So item-wise, Fnatic are very, very powerful right now. They've got double on Corki. They've got 2 on Pride as well. xMatty still not in the best of shapes, but he's doing all right down here considering, you know, the overall farm after a whole lot of those deaths. So if they were going to pick a moment to fight, now looks very good for them.
This is what they're trying to see if they can do. If they can find a fight where they're going to be able to come out ahead. They got to be careful of that poke from Xico. It scared them off a little bit. They almost got the pick onto Eloya, but this is the problem of playing Trundle into Graves. He can always jump over the wall, keep himself safe, but Fnatic don't care. They still want to pull the trigger onto this Cloud Dragon, get themselves within soul point as Bravado takes a heaping chunk of damage, but so does Xico. Jumped on by MagiFelix. It's going to be the Dragon secured, though, by Eloya. They're losing.
Eloya banging to the backline, jumping on towards Bravado as well here with beansu stuck inside of the pit. Movistar Riders going to be able to trade one kill over, but do they go down in the end?
Unfortunately, it does look like Movistar went a little bit too far in the fight. Hava being the only one to survive, even using Flash and Heal just to get out.
All right, I think we lost you for a second there in that Team 5-4.
We lost me for a second, I'm back. And we get a look at the replay of what happened in the fight. So, Ender, please break this down a little bit more and talk about what happened to Xico.
No, look at Xico. He jumps on forward here, but Pride pops on over. Look at the damage that comes in. Autos him with the W. The damage follows him over. Then MagiFelix jumps into the back line as well, absolutely wrecking him right there. And now all of a sudden the fight's super split up for them. Again, we were talking about how strong Fnatic are on their current items. Even if you look at like the overall landscape of a team fight and how that normally would play out, I still think Movistar have great things going for them looking on later. The fact that Pride and MagiFelix found that pick onto Xico was huge.
It really did make it so that they were able to win the fight. They weren't able to secure the Dragon, so they're not at soul point yet. But we kind of mentioned before, it is a Cloud Dragon Soul, so not necessarily that impactful one that you really would have liked, like the Ocean Dragon Soul, where it really can dictate what happens in these later game fights if you're able to get the Soul.
See, the thing is, I actually think Cloud Soul is a really important one for Fnatic in this game, specifically because they're running 3 melees into a comp that outranges them largely. So I actually think having the 10% bonus increase when you also have melee champs that have higher base MS than range champions, this is probably one of the better games to get a Cloud. Like, sure, you'd take Ocean over it any day, but a Cloud Drake does fundamentally change how Fnatic can play out their team fight.
That is a really good point, because it does let them get further into the backline, especially being able to punish someone like Hava. This Misfortune, this AD carry player out of Spain, has been one of the highlight players for Movistar in their wins and their victories. He has some of the most kills throughout this entire European Masters. I think he's at 44 before this game, so what, 47 now?
That is a lot of kills, to be sure. If I did my math correct, that would equal out to 47.
I
tend to stray away from that.
Okay.
On the other side of things, though, like, while JaVaaa had a great early game, right? Like, MagiFelix has quietly popped up to be super, super powerful in these fights. Now sitting on 3 items after getting a whole lot of kills, after being bullied a lot by Xico in the early game. Like, this is his time to shine. We said, what are the scaling options for Fnatic? It is going to be this Corki moving later on, and so much will be on his shoulders to carry in these fights.
And that was something I wanted to mention, but we had the fight that kind of broke out, is he went for the Manamune first. He wanted to be able to get that Tamura mana immediately before going for Trinity Force, before going for Rapid Fire Cannon, because he wanted to have the scaling options. They have now gotten this Corki in a position where he can pop off.
And it's coming in before the Ornn upgrades have actually come around for beansu. He did just finish off the first one, so Molten Edge for JaVaaa. You know, we're setting up the duel here. Misfortune versus Corki in these later fights can certainly be a good one. Fortunately for Movistar Riders, they're going to have a little bit more time before a potential game-ending fight. Of course, with the objective steal on the last Cloud Drake for Eloya. This next one, while both teams certainly will want to get it, it is one that you're not necessarily willing to risk your entire life over. Like, you can put Fnatic on Soul Point if you are waiting for your item completions, and when you're looking at a 3-item Corki on the other side, well, maybe you want to do just that.
And I was even going to say, it almost feels like whatever team tries to go for this Cloud Dragon needs to do it solo. They need to send one member, because you can't give up control around Baron. That is on the table, and that's more important than getting to Soul Point. You're not getting the soul off of this. You need to be able to still play around the top side of the map. You can see that from the vision that Fnatic have been able to put down. They're making sure they're not relenting. They have pressure around this. If they ever see that too many members of Movistar go towards this dragon, they immediately make that call.
And vision's an important topic, too, because the last couple fights that Fnatic have won, they've actually had superior vision to that of Movistar, and it's helped them close the gap. Here we go, we got a fight!
Look at that damage onto Dan. He had to flash away immediately. Bravado has a massive shield to be able to survive. Right into the backline, trying to see if he can get the damage onto Xico. Both carries gone for Movistar. Only the tanks survive. They're trying to be able to get out of there alive. Eloya so far from the fight to be able to help out anybody. They're all going to go down in a fight that did not work out, and Fnatic found what they needed to immediately go for that Baron if they need to, but they really are trying to see if they can weigh their options and might actually go for Dragon.
Fnatic just absolutely trapped Movistar Riders right there, coming at them from both angles, top and bottom. Absolutely punished them, and unfortunately, the only player they lost was MagiFelix, so it will just be a Cloud Drake picked up on the back half of it. But again, it's Movistar Riders getting a little bit too anxious to make a play happen. Watch as they all funnel into this tight corridor, thinking they're the ones that are engaging, but MagiFelix goes all the way into the backline, getting on towards JaVaaa, and while he trades his life for the AD carry, xMatty is able to deliver the finishing blows on towards Misfortune. Xico also falls to MagiFelix. I believe the burn damage from that package he laid down as well, and once you remove the damage dealers, hey, the fights can become really easy for Fnatic to win.
I also think an unsung hero in that fight was Pride. His flank onto Xico was able to catch out Zoe, where you're afraid that he's going to be able to pop a lot of damage onto xMatty, but no longer do you have to worry about that, because Xico then has to turn onto this Renekton, who's right on top of Zoe. She doesn't want that. She wants to be able to poke people, and if she's not able to do that, well, we saw what happened.
Right, the fights need to be slower. When we see Movistar Riders winning fights, it will be slow fights where they can play off of the Zoe poke, where Graves can build up a whole lot of his true grit stacks. These fast fights, these explosive fights, where Pride is able to find these flanks, where MagiFelix just goes sailing in towards the back line on his plane, like, hey, those are the ones that Fnatic are going to be coming out on top of, so Movistar need to be a little bit more patient when they do look for these moves.
They need to be able to get that poke first. They need to get people low. They can't be going out this far, especially not Eloya. They lost their jungle immediately. xMatty going to be able to trade a lot of damage back onto Xico, but you can see the TP, and that's what they were waiting for. So Pride can then go, but look at Bravado. He slams down the tank into the backline. They get so much damage, they blow up before he can fight back. They gotta shut down where they need to, only having JaVaaa now, trying to see if he can get the damage for Movistar to keep them alive. He's kept them going so far, and might make it so that Fnatic, they can't go for the Baron. They don't have the carries necessary.
So if the fight were to persist, I actually think Movistar would have won that. With JaVaaa alive against 3 melee champions of Braum to keep him safe, like that was a winnable situation. But still, it's them going way too deep here with Eloya getting immediately exploded. You know MagiFelix can step away and come on back here, and the fight should have been completely lost. But JaVaaa is able to stay safe just by being in this close proximity to the tower and lays down a huge ultimate right here, catching out, almost killing Bravado as well. If beansu had maybe been sticking in there and been able to lock up Pride and Dan, that could have been even more kills for MRS. So you can see how these fights, even though Fnatic continue to come out on top of them, are still very, very close and could go either way.
This is why we have to highlight JaVaaa and talk about why this player has been such a linchpin for Movistar in the past. They've relied on him and how he's been able to play in position in these fights. That was just a great example of the amount of damage he can output, having already gotten Molten Edge, now going for Bloodthirster. It's going to be that much more difficult to actually kill for Fnatic.
Yeah, this is the ulti misfortune build as well. We're not building any of that garbage attack speed. We're just trying to press R on some fools and watch them burn right here. So especially wait for that level 16 to come through on the misfortune. She's going to be looking pretty nasty right here. Also, beansu is level 15, so I'd love to see him upgrade that Rabadon's. Could have had that for the last fight as well. I'm pretty sure the Ornn was on 15, as he, I mean, frankly, should be approaching 16 within the next couple minutes or so.
Well, let's see. Yep. Walking over towards Xico, giving him...
Boom, boom,
what the
boom.
crown? Death crown, right? That's what it's called, this one?
The death crown, yeah.
I always forget what the ornaments are called. I try to remember each one. I know Molten Edge, Death Crown, Forge Fire Cape, not Sunfire. But I don't remember the Abyssal Mask. Oh, whoa, Movistar starting up Baron.
Yeah, they're going... Oh, Pride has no TP and he just showed in the bot lane.
No.
This one's going to go down fast.
MagiFelix trying to see if they can at least get a little bit of damage onto Xico, but he had to use Valkyrie to be able to get out of here. Here comes the call of the Forge God with bullet time use, purely to be able to zone away. But Bravado, too little, too late to be able to get into the middle of the pit. It's all about the little bit of damage coming in from Fnatic. Pride only now showing up to the fight. Bravado was in the middle of everybody, so he's going to die immediately as well. Everyone now layering onto Dan, taking out the tank, shutting him down. Pride having to bail out of the fight. He was too late, too.
Oh no, it's such a good call right there from Movistar Riders, keeping track of the teleport cooldowns and catching Fnatic with their brains turned off. They send Renekton into the bot side trying to get Prio for what? For absolutely nothing. With 3 damage dealers, this Baron goes down so quickly. And Fnatic, they try to do something here, right? They say, we commit to a fight, maybe Pride can get there fast enough, but they cannot make it happen with the Ornn and MF ult simply to zone people out of the pit. Then the turnaround comes through as JaVaaa just drops one auto attack on MagiFelix, kills him, and then they can easily win this fight.
And so yeah, I was talking about the zoning ult from JaVaaa. It worked perfectly. It kept Bravado out of the pit long enough. Then they could turn around, and even if you don't have attack speed, that's a lot of AD damage that Misfortune has. When she hits you with one auto, you're gonna feel it.
Yeah, that was not a fun situation for MagiFelix, regardless of how good his items look, right? He's got the Infinity Edge now. It's about as strong
He's
as
not
he
a tank,
here
though.
On the Corki. He is not a tank. That is... Tour words were never spoken. Magical. And now, unfortunately, for Fnatic, now Eloya has the Obsidian Cleaver. All the upgrades come through for this team. The Baron buff as well, and it's all before the Cloud Drake spawns on up too. So Fnatic, very realistically, probably just going to have to give that one on over here as MRS take control in the game.
They forfeit themselves getting the soul at this moment. It will put both teams at soul point if Movistar can secure this. They want to play around that advantage. Baron buff still strong on every single one of them. They're not worried about Fnatic putting up this fight. They're trying to see if they can just get a pick on a MagiFelix. Look at that damage that came out from Xico the moment he popped over. xMatty a bit too far out himself. Might have to see if he can path the wrong way, but because he's on the top side where he has to path, it gives Movistar the inside track onto Dragon.
So, Xico has the Honey Fruit, MagiFelix has Red Buff and the auto attacks to heal on up here. The Dragon goes over. Fnatic don't need to force this, but they're going to go for the fight.
No, it's Movistar who want to force it. They want to see if they can find the picks on these members of Fnatic who are way too far out. Shouldn't be trying to see if they can test a Dragon that they knew they had no control of.
Oh,
maybe
Movistar might be caught.
Got themselves a little bit too far out. Good Sleepy Trouble Bubble will make it so Dan's not going to be able to put the pillar down. So they back out of there, and it is going to be nobody dying, but the objective secured by Movistar.
Yeah, I believe the pillar was on cooldown there from Dan, because otherwise beansu was a little bit too far away from his team and may have needed to burn the flash to escape from that one. So, oh man, we may just be waiting for the next Baron to spawn up, because again, it doesn't feel like Movistar are confident enough to like push forward with the Baron and end up sieging on any of these towers. But now beansu is going to be caught out down bot side.
beansu, a little bit too far. Not sure exactly why he thought he was comfortable being that far out from his base, thinking that, oh, I have the tier 2, but this rotation from Fnatic going to punish his mistake for going that far.
He'll get punished, won't lose really anything off of it, though. That's like the weird situation that we're currently in, is that because there's no objectives on the map, all the outer turrets have been knocked down, and the waves are kind of in weird states for both teams. Like, no one's ever sieging. They're just sort of walking into the jungles and, like, walking around these objectives, so that's where all of our fights have been set up around a Baron or around a Dragon. We've never just seen a team be like, hey, it's time to siege. Like, no one ever gets that far because they just haven't had time to actually, like, put down super deep vision or set up their waves. They haven't been able to do both. Sometimes they have one, but never the other.
And that's been the problem for the teams at the moment, that they just can't find that fight that will really end the game. But it feels like we're at a moment where the teams are so close to one another that if they're able to win a fight convincingly enough, that will be the game.
Yeah, I mean, we're also 35 minutes in, right? So death timer is going to be super, super long as well. I will say, because the majority of inner towers are up, it may be possible if there's like a straggler or two to be able to get back. Like, they could stall on this game. This may end up being a very, very long one, depending on how these next few minutes go, because if one team can stall out, we may just see a trade, you know, a Cloud Soul for a Baron, because it seems like Baron doesn't actually mean that much for either teams. When it's going to come down to a team fight anyways, it may be that Movistar Riders feel comfortable saying, hey, you can have the Baron, that's okay, we'll go ahead and pick this one up for ourselves. As now another top laner gets caught. Pride has to use his teleport, and now Movistar have all the tools they need to say, hey, wait a second, it becomes way easier to play for an objective on the opposite side of the map.
It does. They now know what they can play around and try to make a play like they did last time when Pride showed himself in the bot lane and they immediately turned onto that Baron, where Fnatic got themselves caught out in a bad spot. They have wave clear. They can keep pushing back to Movistar, but Movistar now are in control because of that one play.
And there's not a whole lot of vision, right? It's just going to be the Scuttle Crab taken here from Fnatic. They have control ward in that top side of their jungle as well. Looking at supports right now, there's no wards on rhuckz, so he very likely wants to go back to base soon. If this sort of posturing around, wow, push in mid lane lasts too much longer, he may not have vision by the time the objective spawn.
Look at the damage that Xico was able to do to xMatty. Forced away Syndra. Most of the wave clear now has to go back to base to be able to survive, and we got it not too long. 45 seconds until Baron is going to be up. They can get a pick on a Dan a little bit too far. Good cancel of the ult, but everyone else wants to see if they can get into this tight corridor. Call the Forge God wants to see if they can lock down at least the tank. Bravado might have to use the Haymaker a little bit too soon if he wants to be able to survive with the TP in the back. As Pride goes deep into the back line, not able to get onto Hava just yet. They try to pull him back in with the help of Bravado to get rid of the carries. Everyone is falling on the side of Movistar. The picks came through for Fnatic. Only Eloya, he's found himself in this spot before, the last surviving member of Movistar, right as the Baron is going to come up.
Movistar just funneled right into Fnatic right there, seeing xMatty had recalled, but then he just TPs and flanks on in behind him. Looks like Fnatic going to be walking through here, making sure they can deny all wards before potentially going back towards the Baron, but instead, they're just going to push right down middle lane. They have 30 seconds to work with. Eloya, with his ultimate, though, should be able to clear away the minion waves and hold on past the inhibitor.
But look at how fast they take down these turrets. They're just going to go for the end.
Oh man, Eloya, he's gonna have to unload everything on the wave and try to keep this alive, but
it comes down. They make him go golden immediately. The turrets aren't gonna last very long. He has to flash away to just be able to survive the fight. That's Fnatic. They didn't need no Baron to be able to win this. They go right down mid and they take game one.
Wow. That came out of nowhere. Like, I feel cheated. I was waiting for, like, that big team fight around the Baron or something, and then all of a sudden, Movistar are like, hey, let's just force straight down inside of their jungle. Ultimate's getting canceled, not layering up properly. They saw a player recall and tried to go all in, but Fnatic were still able to sort of collapse on in to that team and punch them right back and get the win.
That was crazy. I was really expecting a fight around Baron, and then it was going to be the push in mid. Fnatic, they found a play and they said the time's long enough. We've been in this late game scenario before. We understand that it's about these decisive calls to be able to end the game. They take game 1 of the quarterfinals. We're going to toss it to a break, though. And when we come back, Ender and I, we're going to break down that game and talk about how Fnatic were able to get that victory.
Magic. 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 Magic.
Vous comprenez maintenant pourquoi j'ai créé la Magic? En un clip, vous devenez Magic.
La monture avec ses 2 clips pour 149 €.
C'est Magic.
Dispositif médical.
Time for a true display of skill.
My axe is ready. Witness true strength.
A gift from me to you. Ooh.
Another soul lost.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
This is my creed. The boots that make me faster. The items that make me stronger. The potions that I drink. I get the best to be more powerful, so my champion rises to the top. But all this leveling up means nothing if I don't level up myself. It's the healthy potions I drink in real life that make me stronger. Because you can only rule the game when you realize you are your most important champion. To play like a pro, eat like a pro.
I'm not letting go.
Hello, welcome back into European Masters. I'm Magical, joined in by Ender. We got to talk about Game 1 of the quarterfinals that we just witnessed, where Fnatic Rising were able to take a pretty long burner of a game over Movistar. It was close and back and forth throughout the entirety of that 38-minute game.
It was such a strange game almost, because Movistar Riders got off to like a really big advantage early on, but the game still felt close because of the mid-game of Fnatic, and fights like these where Fnatic were creatively able to come away with wins. You saw Pride and MagiFelix at the start just blasting Xico right there in order to open up the fight and get them in a position to win, and MagiFelix was super strong on this Corki. I think this is the play as well where he just packages straight into the backline, and they kept finding the ways to win out in these fights. He jumped on towards JaVaaa, Pride able to find this flank to finish off Xico, who had to jump back into the package and ended up burning to death. But then out of this, it still felt like the scaling was with Movistar. They picked up the Baron for themselves, sneaking that one away pretty easily, but it was a final team fight where they just funneled into this tight corridor, going so hard, seeing that xMatty wanted to recall, but the ultimate there from JaVaaa gets canceled out. Now they're caught out too far. Graves, Zoe, too far from this fight, can't land anything, so they keep funneling down into this corridor. Pride gets into the backline, then xMatty comes in around on the flank. They just went way too deep, and Fnatic were able to punish them in the end. So quite honestly, this game was close, and I feel like neither team is going to be perfectly happy with how it played out in the end.
Not at all. It was a close game, but that is what we expected from these two teams. Movistar Riders had very close games in their tiebreakers. I mentioned before, a 50-minute game against Schalke Evolution, just to be able to go into another game to then try to find out what their seeding was going to be against Kick, which was a close game itself. Both teams are on very even foot, but now Fnatic are at match point. One more game will knock out Spain from European Masters and make it so that UK still have at least one representative alive.
And honestly, like, if anything, Fnatic should go into this next draft going, hey, Movistar had a comp that outscaled us, but yet they were way too willing to continue fighting us over and over, so they don't need to change up a whole lot. I don't think Fnatic side don't need to change a lot in terms of how they want to approach this next draft, because if you continue to pick some more early focused options, like, you're going to be able to find a lot of these fights that Movistar are going to handshake you on and then beat you to the punch.
So like we did last game beforehand, we had the poll asking you who you thought was going to win between Movistar Riders and between Fnatic Rising. Gonna ask that again. Do you think after that game, that was so close until the very end, that Fnatic will be able to get the sweep over Movistar? Or do you think that Movistar will be able to make it so that we have a game 3 of a best of 3, so we go the full mile? Twitch chat, you let us know. We're going to open up the poll. Ender, I guess I can allow you to go to Twitch chat. I don't know if I should.
I've already voted. I don't need your permission.
See,
I already did it.
The thing is, I think
I'll
I have
also
to
tell you my
on
vote
that.
if you're curious.
I am curious, actually.
Yeah, I voted no. I think we're getting a third game. I think Movistar Riders should have won game number 1. And, you know, if they can sort of refocus, say, get their coach to come in and say, calm down, guys, we don't need to take all these fights. Like, we were going to win. Just be a little bit more patient. Like, this should be very winnable for them.
Well, we'll have to see if HMA Fnatic Rising are going to be able to win this one and get into the semifinals over Movistar Riders, because that was, like I said, a very close game between the two of them. I honestly think one mistake on Fnatic side, that is a Movistar game. We saw one mistake on the side of Movistar, it was a Fnatic game. I don't imagine it's going to be anything different. I almost wonder if we'll get the salty run back. Before we toss it a break, Ender, do you think that's a possibility we get the salty run back?
No way we get the same 10 champions, but I think we're going to see a lot of similarities. We probably see the Graves again. We're probably going to see Corki in the mid again. There's going to be a lot of similarities, but very rare you see the full 10 swap back.
All right. And before I toss the break, I will say the poll is polling at 73% of viewers saying yes, Fnatic will be able to win game 2, sweep
Because it's a
Movistar.
Fnatic poll. Everyone's going to vote Fnatic. Come on.
Well, we'll have to find out. We're going to toss to a break when we come back. Game 2 of the quarterfinals.